question two, item 2. Item 3 is declarations of interest. Can all councillors please disclose any pecuniary interest from councillors on matters to be considered at the meeting? The disclosure must include the nature of the interest. If you become aware during the course of the meeting of an interest that has not been disclosed under this item, you must immediately disclose it. That's the formal bit over. So we move on to item 4, which is social prescribing. Anne. Anne is GP link worker for the surgery for social. Oh, I'll put my teeth in for social prescribing. So over to you, Jane. Can I ask everybody else to mute, please?
Yeah, you want me to go? Anne, you want me to talk? Yeah, okay. Well, thanks very much for having us along today. Anne and I are the GP link workers for social prescribing for Alnwick Medical Group. And that basically means is that we are supporting patients and looking at sort of the patient and the whole sort of person-centered care, looking at how we can support patients who are maybe coming to surgery, but they're experiencing difficulties which can't necessarily be treated by a medication. So we're looking at supporting people who may be in sort of financial hardship or support with benefits, housing, and obviously a lot at the minute is about sort of social isolation and trying to connect them where possible to sort of any sort of community projects that are perhaps going on online, or really just looking at, you know, somebody's health and well-being and how they're sort of managing on a day-to-day basis at the moment. So that's sort of how social prescribing sits at the minute. And I think what's important is about how we are connecting with community and making it aware that people can actually now self-refer into the service. So if you are coming across people within the town that are looking for that sort of support, then you can connect them to the GP surgery and connect them to social prescribing, and they can self-refer. I think other things that we're looking at doing is we've set up sort of a few sort of online services like a knit and natter group, like a book club, but very much we're keen to sort of utilize what's already going on in community and connect with those things and see, you know, how we can refer patients into services as well. I don't know, Anne, whether there's anything you wanted to add on that, or?
Well, just to say that, I mean, there's a whole variety and range of what the sort of support we can offer. Just a couple of examples. I had a lady, not the Alnwick practice, a different practice, who was really reliant on her daughter taking her shopping once a week to do the Morrisons shop, and it was their time. And they really enjoyed going out and doing the shopping, and it was her independence. But the wheelchair was really getting too heavy for the daughter to manage. So she wasn't getting out as much. And as a result of which, she was getting isolated and lonely. She went to a GP complaining of depression and low mood. And this is the root cause, and she wasn't getting out. So the GP asked us to intervene in this situation. And I was able to arrange a lighter weight wheelchair for her. The daughter could then take mother out to do the independent shopping at Morrisons once a week. They then regained their mother-daughter time, her independence. And it was a small thing like that. There's a one-off intervention that made a difference to her and her daughter. Having said that, we do have other patients that we're supporting that can take a lot longer. They have a lot more complex needs. As Jane said, a lot of them can tend to be financial or housing issues. And if it's impacting on their health, particularly their physical health, it's something we can try and do and try and help sort out. We don't have a magic bullet, nobody does, but if we can help somewhere along the line and make people's lives better, and therefore as well, try and prevent some of the visits to the GP.
Oh, she's gone. Anne, you've gone. Can anyone else hear Anne?
Anne, your sound's gone off.
Sorry, my laptop keeps cutting out on sound every now and again. We can signpost them to other places as well, all sorts of different links. But what we would like to know is if there are groups and activities restarting or starting initially in ANIC, we would like to ask you, with all your numerous contacts and connections all over the town and so on, to just please let us know, and we can direct our patients to those organisations and activities to help them on their path to well-being.
Thank you, Anne. It's about a year since you came to talk to us, isn't it? Was it about a year, just before first lockdown?
I believe that Tony Brown and Natalie came to talk to you before you were both in post.
Before you were in post.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it seems like it's gone well.
Yeah, I mean, the service has really sort of developed from, I think initially what happened is we started social prescribing, and then obviously lockdown happened, and obviously, you know, can't thank, you know, the town council were amazing at setting up all the prescriptions and the deliveries and stuff. And so that was a lot of our work to start with, was talking to the shielding list and developing sort of a caseload from there. And then now there's been more sort of referrals from GPs, from patients coming in. And so it's kind of working a bit more as it should, if you see what I mean, as opposed to not just a response to lockdown and the pandemic, but becoming a bit more of an embedded service, you know, so that a holistic approach to healthcare is put into the health service. So very much, it's not just about a patient going to a doctor and saying, these are my ailments, how can you treat me? It's very much about a conversation about what are the barriers and what are the things that are affecting your healthcare, and how can we embed that and have a community response to that as well. I think that's the important bit, and we're the link between the two.
Thank you. Has anybody got any questions or comments to Anne and Jane? Sue, Patience.
Yeah, just quickly. Welcome, Jane.
Nice Hi, Sue.
Hi, and Anne. Hi.
Hi.
Just to say that since Natalie came and spoke to us with Tony, the community allotment was set up. And I've been working, now Natalie has left the area, I've been working with Jane along with Jeff Watson and Tim on the community allotments. And we're just hit a bit of a snag so far, haven't we, Jane, really, with insurance issues. But that's somewhere that you can refer, you know, kind of clients to, once we've kind of overcome the hurdle of the insurance on your behalf, and being able to direct them there, and they could have some input into well-being with the help in the community allotments. So that's been great working with you.
Yeah, thank you. I think that is such a brilliant project. And particularly lots of GPs are sort of talking about, you know, the response to particularly men's mental health, and how that might be a really helpful project to sort of really help that patient group and help them to connect in an outside space, doing something, getting involved and being outside, being in the fresh air, all of those things which are so helpful for mental health. So I'd love to see that get off the ground. We're just, there's just an issue around public indemnity insurance and things, public liability insurance, sorry. Yeah.
Thank you.
The other thing I need to bring up as well, we've been asked to go in and help with the COVID vaccination clinics lately. We've both been at ANIC in the last 2 days, and they've been going really, really well. We're linked to 3 other surgeries as well as ANIC, so we're spreading our time out there besides doing our day job. But the vaccinations are going so well. It's really good to see.
We were just having a head count before you all joined us on how many of us have had it. I've had the jab. So thank you for that. Julia.
Hi, Anne and Jane. I'll be there tomorrow, actually.
Excellent.
So
I just wanted to share that something that I know you two know about, which is the CAB taking a bit of a lead to try and get some extra resources into this whole area under a grant scheme called Thriving Communities. And the organisations that I work for are part of a partnership of, I think it's 13 voluntary organisations that have come together, and there's going to be, if it's successful, there'll be a worker who will make the referrals between various organisations and projects work a lot more easily, and hopefully make Anne and Jane's job more doable as well. So I'll let you know if that's successful.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Was that your hand, Peter? No. No other questions? Well, thank you very much, and we do appreciate what you're doing. And it sounds like you've got a lot of things going on and know where to refer people to. So if there's any more, we can, if anybody thinks of any, we'll let you know that if there's any that you perhaps don't know about, anything new.
That'd be great. And if anything does start up, I know it's whenever, but please let us know as and when you know that, because it'd be really useful for our clients to be able to pass them through to other organisations.
Thank you. Peter Broom.
Just a quick one on that, Anne and Jane. Welcome to the meeting. I'm a little bit late. There's a few projects coming up shortly. Hopefully the Anna Greenway will get off the ground if we can get the go-ahead, which is going to be completely voluntary, building of footpaths and clearing footpaths up the old railway line. So that's something that you could probably get involved with as well. And then obviously you've got the Allen Valley Railway, who are wanting to extend further down to Allenmouth, which again, it's all great outdoor stuff, which is, just something for you to keep on the back burner there. Thanks. Yeah,
that's something we've been in touch with them recently, because there are not a huge number of opportunities for men, particularly the volunteering side and getting out and doing things. So Allen Valley Railway is an absolutely ideal place to be able to refer people through. The other project we're talking about, if you can let us have some details on that as and when things are happening, that sounds really useful as well. Sounds good.
It's very early days on that one at the minute, but we will. It's going to be, if it goes ahead, it's going to be very exciting.
Okay, thanks.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for taking the time to come and speak to us. Thank you.
You're welcome, anytime.
Bye.
Thanks for having us.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Take good care. Bye-bye for now.
You are welcome to stay if you want to stay. Item 5 is Sergeant Paul Sykes from Neighbourhood Policing. So thank you very much, Paul, for coming. I hope it's more successful than the last one. We had technical problems last time, didn't we?
Yes. Thank you for inviting me tonight. I'm Paul Sykes. I'm the sergeant on the community team for ANIC at the moment. Also listening in by audio is Inspector John Swan. He's not on video, he's on audio tonight, so he's listening in. I just want to speak to you about an application or request that Sergeant Wilmore Greaves made to the council regarding an expansion of the CCTV system. I'm going to talk about quickly in general about how we use the system in ANIC, and then just give some examples on how we're using it and how it benefits our policing. Firstly, when Sergeant Wilmore Greaves requested an expansion of the system from the council, I'm aware of budgets and views within the council and the public on how and if we should expand the system, but that's like an ultimate wish list. I think from my point of view, since the system was installed, we have seen the town change significantly, especially at the Willowburn end of town. And also we've got to know that the strengths and weaknesses of the system. And I think that report that Sergeant Wilmore Greaves sent in identified areas where we thought there was gaps and we could potentially improve the system. Now, I need to say that the system's good, it's modern, it's a very good system. It has limitations, that the fact that we don't monitor our live situation, there's no operator looking at the images 24 hours a day. However, do we need that in ANIC? I don't think we do. However, that limitation means that if we've got a fixed camera in a fixed location and somebody of interest moves from that camera, it's good to then pick them up on another fixed camera, because obviously if it's monitored, that camera would then move and follow that person. We don't have that unless somebody's actually monitoring at the time. So I think that's why Sergeant Wilmore Greaves approached the council about putting more fixed cameras in. Now, I think it does have a deterrent factor, having a CCTV system in a town. It's a modern thing. Most towns do have public systems. Now, if we're looking at issues of civil liberties, I think the police only use the cameras when there's a report of crime or to protect a vulnerable person. We're not constantly monitoring them, sat there monitoring them. And I think the collateral intrusion is minimal due to that. Now, it protects visitors and residents. And if it wasn't present, we do get asked a lot of our crimes, a witness or a victim will say, is it caught on CCTV? It is a reassuring aspect because they know that that will capture what has occurred. And like I said, I've dealt with lots of cases where the victims, if it's in Alnwick, they'll say, is it caught on CCTV? They do want that because they know that that's a witness in their case. Now, the limitations with private CCTV is just that, it's private. We can ask for access to it. It's normally granted, however, the systems can be poor quality. The recordings systems can be poor. Sometimes they're difficult to access. People don't know passwords or how to operate them. And sometimes we're not even aware of some of the private systems. They may be in private houses or shops and we're not aware. Now, as an investigator, I think CCTV proves and it disproves offences. So if something's occurred, we've got a brilliant image of what's occurred. However, it also helps with false allegations. If, for instance, somebody is accused of a crime and they deny it, we can look at the system, and if it's not occurred, it goes some way to actually support the suspect as well. So
yeah.
I think what we find with a lot of crimes is people are under stress when they report them, victims, witnesses, and it's difficult sometimes to get a coherent story in times of stress. However, the cameras put things in context. You have, as an investigator, a very good witness that you can use, and it's good in court. When you show a visible image in court, it speaks 1,000 words. Doesn't matter how good your written statement is, when somebody can see an incident live on a video, it has a very impactful factor on juries, magistrates, judges. Now, I can give you some examples of when I've used the system when we had a cash machine. This is going back a few years now. A cash machine tampered in Alnwick by a travelling professional gang. Now, we were able to use the system to try and obtain the registration numbers of the car that came to put the tampering device, the little device in the cash machine, which basically gathers people's information as they put the cards in. In 2017 on Fenkell Street, I had a glassing, a serious public order incident that went to Crown Court, and that resulted in a conviction. Now, that offence was caught on the Fenkell Street camera. Now, that was a particularly nasty incident of street violence, which was helped by the camera system. Last year, we had somebody was reported as missing, a vulnerable person. Now, people might not think that we would use a camera system for this type of example. However, this person was a tourist. We didn't know what they looked like. We weren't quite sure what they were wearing, and we were unsure of the location they left, the direction they left in. We know where they started from, but we didn't know where they went. Now, I was able to use the camera system, because it's late at night when this person went missing, to track them through the town. And from that, we were able to direct a search in that area of the town. So that saves a lot of hours, policing hours. It helps us. It also shows, has a person gone voluntary away? Are they being led away? Are they in company with somebody? Have they got into a vehicle? Is somebody looking for this missing person? That was a huge help. And recently we've had a fatal road accident on the outskirts of Alnwick. Again, we were able to track the vehicle through Alnwick, which is important as an investigator. What is the manner of driving? where did the vehicle go? Which route did it take? That is all important for the questions that families have, a question that a coroner's court would have, and members of the public. So I think it's quite valuable. If people want to say the bus station, I know we do have a few incidents at the bus station. The system there is private. It's sometimes broken, and the access is Monday to Friday with Arriva at Ashington. So there is an implication when we have to go to Arriva, we have to request the CCTV and we have to go collect it. And it has been for a few months not working. And they have fixed it now, but it was not working. Now, we've got to appreciate that private CCTV is installed for the benefit of the companies and not necessarily for the public or the police. It's there for their use, and it's there for their priorities. Sometimes the cameras will show the areas that they want to show because it's protecting what they want to protect. Now, between October and December last year, we had 4 crimes in the bus station, and we had crimes for the whole of 2020 and 26 incidents at the bus station. That ranged from antisocial behaviour, COVID complaints, assaults and public order. Now, one of the incidents from Christmas Eve, we struggled to get CCTV from Arriva. The system just wasn't getting access, it was broken. An elderly victim was stood in the bus station when they were confronted by youth, verbally abused, and then they were swung at. Now, this is obviously an innocent person who's just been verbally, and then somebody tried to physically attack them. Obviously, a camera that was covering that location would help. I know there might be issues of, are we protecting a private location? However, it is a public location to the people of Alnwick. So yeah, it is an area where children do hang around, and it is a deterrent having a good system. So in conclusion, I do support the CCTV in Alnwick. What you've invested in is very good, and it is being used. I'm a local resident myself, and I'm very happy that we do have that system. However, I recognise your budgets and any sort of differing views within the council. Like I said, the report that Sergeant Wilmore Greaves put in is an ultimate wish list. Any further investment would be much appreciated by our side. However, we do support whatever decision the council comes to. Thank you.
You're on mute, Linda.
Sorry, thank you, Paul. That was because I was coughing. I took myself off, put myself on mute. Right, sorry about that. Yes, thank you, Paul. Obviously, we can't make any decisions tonight on that, but we will put it on the agenda for a future meeting. But in the meantime, I'll take one comment or question from anybody who's got one. But because it's a big agenda, Peter, you missed this, but I said it at the beginning. I'll not come back to you. We can have more discussion when we have another meeting about it. Martin Swinbank.
Yes, thank you, Linda. It was just with regard to the bus station. I think there is some sympathy for the issue with regard to the bus station and the camera coverage. The question was, have you got authority from the owner and the leasee to install cameras that would do the job in the bus station if we were to provide funding for it?
Did you hear that? Did you hear that, Paul?
Yes, sorry, it was just a bit quiet. Was it asking about whether we've got authority to place a camera there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not at the moment. I think obviously this is just a proposal on our side on putting the proposal to the council on would the council support this further investment. We haven't got that far down the track yet. That will become later. It's probably a bit too early to be sort of fixing locations until there's sort of an agreement that we could proceed like that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Peter Broom. Sorry, Peter Edge.
Hi, yeah, so the CCTV, they acts as a deterrent. Are there signs up to say that we've got CCTV in the town and therefore you're being watched? And where are they and how many have we got?
There's no signs up. However, the cameras are very visible. They're very overt. They can be seen. They're not hidden. So, yeah, they are there. They can easily be seen. You struggle to miss them.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Bill.
Hi, Paul. Just a quick question about the summer coming up, which may or may not have a lot of holidaymakers coming in. But if last year's anything to go by, we're going to be absolutely rammed again. And is the CCTV part of your plans for policing the tourist season that may be coming up? I imagine it is, but are you making preparations on what you've learned from last year?
Obviously, the system's obviously just in Alnwick, in town centre. I think the issues last year on how busy it was probably affected the coastal areas more than actually the town centre. I don't think the tourists within Alnwick, we saw any significant issues. It was more the coastal area with parking, demand, that type of thing. So it wasn't directly in the centre.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's John Swan here, the neighbourhood inspector. Just on that point in relation to what preparation we're doing. Obviously, we assumed at the time that the current situation in relation to COVID would probably be very similar in the summer. So we have been doing a lot of work based on what happened last summer, and the work has been ongoing fluidly since last summer. We're doing lots of work, as Paul says, with the town centre, where we've seen the greatest demand, the national parks. So we've done a lot of work with the National Parks, the Forestry Commission, and we've got a working group that takes place every week where we discuss issues that are happening. Likewise with the car parks, so we can get an early heads up to the extra people that are coming in. We've had the engagement van out doing joint work with the fire service, with mountain rescue, again with the Forestry Commission, and we're doing that because what we've seen over last summer, and we expect to be the same this summer, is we're having a different type of people that are coming and using the facilities than we have previously. So a lot of it is also to do with preparation and learning, and certainly educating the public.
Thank you. Tim, was it Tim you had your hand up?
Yeah, it was just for information. There are signs up in Alnwick advising that there are CCTV cameras there. Maybe not in all locations, but many, if not most.
Thank you, Tim. Any other questions or comments? Thank you for coming, both Inspector Swan and Sergeant Sykes. We'll take this away, we'll have further discussion, and then we'll let you know what our decisions are.
That's great, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is the approval of last month's minutes. Are you screen sharing these, Peter, please? You're on mute, Janet. Janet, you're on.
Myself off. Could we do approval before we share? Just I can't see you all once he shares the minutes. I can't see who's voted.
I move approval.
I second.
And now I've shared. There we go. Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Okay. Linda, you're on mute.
Right, okay. So we're looking at matters arising from the minutes. Okay, sorry, I'm getting confused again. On page 1, any matters arising?
Just like to speak, Madam Mayor, I understand I've had some very positive responses. Item C20-108, the business about the customs, the state of the footpath at Peters Mill. I understand they've carried out considerable improvement. I think you'd know better than I do, but I've had some positive responses.
I haven't been down to the bottom end, Gordon. They put some like hogging down at the top end where it's initially diverted, but there was another bit at the bottom end as well, but I haven't been down there. I've been going the opposite way.
Okay, I just wanted to say that I've had 2 specific well dones. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Not to me, but to the County Council.
Thank you. On page 2. On page 3. On page 4. I think I went a bit slow there. Page 5. And page 6. Thank you. So we'll approve the minutes. My report, again, it'll be brief because there's not a lot happening. Two things, well, 3 things altogether I want to mention. The first was just to say thank you to Janet and Peter for continuing with the prescription deliveries. There are far fewer this time than last time. So if you do know of anybody who is struggling or who needs some help, it's all running again as it was last time. We had a partnership meeting last Tuesday, this Tuesday even, and that went well. It was well attended. There's been a lot of progress, and there's still I still think there's a few gaps in the actual partnership, but the you know, it's going all right. We haven't met for a very long time, and we agreed that we'd meet quarterly to receive the updates from all the working groups and tie things together. And everybody was there was a lot. We had a lot of good reports, so we'll come on to them. I'm not going to say anything about them. I had an email from Roger Kilburn from Arcanova yesterday, and they have been bought out by a pharmaceutical company called Quotient Science. He's very excited about it. I had a further telephone call with him this morning because at first, because of his enthusiasm, I thought, oh, this is really good. And then I thought, big company takeover, what does that really mean? But they last year they achieved 9th place in the most expanding pharmaceutical company, and this got them onto the top business whatever and attracted buyers. And he said he had over 100 expressions of interest, and they have actually chosen this company, and it's complementary. Arcanova is complementary to the portfolio that they already hold. Of the 7 strands of business, 6 are only 1 overlaps. 6 are not delivered by Quotient Science. He expects that the company will expand. He had plans to expand the workforce from 170 to 200 by the end of the year. He thinks that will expand even more. They're going to offer apprenticeships and be involved much more with the school with their STEM work and what's going on in the school. So I was encouraged by what he was saying. They're always also working with the with Edinburgh, Newcastle, and Durham universities in terms of graduates and postgraduates. And I was, as I said, I was encouraged by what had happened. So it's a bit of watch this space. He did say I could report all of this tonight, so I'm not speaking out of turn. It was announced on Tuesday by Quotient Science. But yeah, so that could bring more jobs. They've just appointed somebody from Nottingham who's come to live in Alnwick, so they're looking to bring more jobs into the town. And the final thing I wanted to say was I haven't raised anything for my mayor's appeal at all, and we're 18 months in. So the plan was to either walk Hadrian's Wall or the coastal path. I've got two problems with that. One, we can't, and two, I've got problems with my hip that I haven't had replaced, so I can't walk very far in any one time. But I have found a virtual Walk Hadrian's Wall challenge, so I've registered for that. So I will be walking the virtual Hadrian's Wall to try and raise money for some percussion instruments for those more challenged people who attend the centre, so that they can be part of Rhythm Sticks. And that was what I was going to do last year, and we ended up not doing anything because we went into lockdown. So if you would like to join me, I can form a team. I will be putting up a Just Giving page if you know anybody who might want to donate, or anybody who might want to join in the challenge. I'll just put them in touch. I'll be very pleased to hear from them. Yes, Peter?
Hi, Linda. Right, I quite like that idea, the Hadrian's Wall and the coastal path. Jane and I have both done the Northumberland coastal path over several weeks, about 10 years ago. Might be worth an idea to do, if you wanted to do a council one, is to do it on a relay basis.
Oh, you could do, yeah.
So,
well, you don't, because it's virtual, this walk, it's quite good. What you do is whatever your daily exercise is, they log it in miles along the wall, and you get postcards at various times. So I'll get some postcards, and also there's an opportunity to plant 3 trees while I walk along it as well. So it's quite good. So you could do it we could do it as a team. Because you just log your own walking distance, but it's good for me because I can only manage about 4 miles at the minute before I'm hobbling. So I can do it. I've given myself 9 weeks to do it, so that I should manage that. But just let me know if anybody wants to join me, and I'd be very pleased to have you along virtually.
Okay.
So that's all I've got from me. Any more questions? No. Question.
Linda, sorry, Linda, can we just take a step back? I think you missed out agenda item 8.
Oh, I did. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So, which is me.
Yeah, I beg your pardon.
No problem. I'm just going to try and share my screen.
This is meeting protocols if you haven't got your agenda in front of you.
Yeah, okay. Those of you at the last Wrekin Amenities meeting, I stepped in just towards the end, just to try and reduce the number of any other business items that were coming up, not particularly from that meeting, but it is a general theme across what we do. I don't know if all of you know, but you should do, because you made me do it. I'm currently doing my clerk's course at the moment, and as exciting as it, I'm sure you can imagine it is, there are actually some useful things coming out of it, particularly around the way we hold meetings. Our meetings are generally very good, but there are certain areas that I think we can probably improve on. So it's been a worthwhile course doing. So I may just drop a few things in over the next few meetings, and hopefully it'll make us operate even better than we do already. So the first one, I'm just having a look this week at our constitution and any other business. Any other business isn't actually referenced at all in the constitution. What it does reference, though, is questions that councillors can ask, and this is really what we class as any other business. So if you look there and at the top of it, really, if you want to raise an item in any other business, it should be you should give 5 days notice to do so. Now, actually, I think that's nonsense, because you'd have to actually preempt the agenda and realised something wasn't going to be on it. But what it does also allow is that the chairman has the discretion to allow urgent questions provided the correct request is received by 5:30 p.m. the day of the meeting. And that's the important one for me. I think if you have got any urgent business that isn't on the agenda, it should be brought to the attention of the mayor before the meeting, so it can be filtered in that way. And then just a reminder at the bottom that obviously questions not related to items of business on the agenda, you can't make any decisions on. So that's one part of our constitution I'd just like us to tighten up on. I think we've got really big long agendas now, which is great because it means there's lots of things happening, but we need to make sure that we keep them as succinct as we can.
Thank you, Peter. Has anybody got any questions or comments to Peter on that? Gordon?
Hi. Yeah.
Yeah, see you, Gordon.
Thank you. Yeah, just to say, I'm going back when I was mayor in 2004. I actually took AOB off the agenda. I think it was probably one of the best things I did when I was mayor, but it didn't last long. I think that's a good move, and I'm very much in favour of it.
I was trying to do the same, and that's why I sent Peter off to have a look. And it was fortunate he's doing his assignments now, so it was part of that as well. Because in my last role in Wiltshire, we didn't have any other business on the council agenda. Okay, no questions. So we move on past me now. So I'm sorry I jumped the gun. Item 10, County Council update first.
Yes, thank you. I'll be as brief as I can. A couple of things. We now have, and I've sent you an email, members, targeted community testing facility is now in place in Alnwick and 3 other locations around the county. And I hope you read the email I've sent to you, which gives you details of how one logs in. It's not a walk-in system, it's a login online system. It's targeted community testing. It's worth reading, and I think that takes us a step forward. Secondly, grants, the website, so far business grants, the county council has done a really good job. Officers have moved heaven and earth, paid £36 million in grants since November. Now I've had quite a few people who appear to have fallen between the cracks or haven't quite understood it. We have revised the website to make it slightly easier to follow. Unfortunately, the government isn't making it easier to follow. You got to read almost every week there's a change in procedures. But do advise people who ask to go to the county council website, and if they can't get any answers there, well, come to me. Finally, the next one, we've committed 275k to top up winter grant funding to ensure, I think it's about 10,000 children who receive free school meals will get an additional £15 a week. That'll take it up to £30 a week. Today I just noticed, and I'm pleased it's taken a long time, at last I've seen the plans for the 20 limit out sites in Paul's School and the flashing lights that go with it. At these times, stick to 20, and that's going out sites in Paul's School. I've seen the plans, I've sent them on to the head teacher of the school, and I've tried to send them to you, and it bounced back. I'll do my best to send them to you, Madam Mayor, and perhaps you could deal with them as you see fit. But that's quite a good move. And finally, the car park, which is going to be built, probably start work in September, the 200 space car park. We've just had a discussion of CCTV. You don't want another one tonight but just say the plans do not include CCTV. So the town council might want to consider whether or not it pushes the county council to do that, or else pays for it itself, because at the moment there are no plans for CCTV in that car park. But they, we might feel that that's necessary. Nor is there any requirement for an information board, and I think we should have one there. And I think that is a matter of the town council to take over as and when it sees fit, when work finishes. An information board that I think really useful to have it there. That's it. Thanks very much, Madam Mayor.
Has anybody got any questions or comments for Gordon? Alan, you're on mute, Alan. Bottom left-hand side of your screen, you should see a microphone.
It's got it. Yes, like the previous speaker, it's done it automatically. Just to ask simply, there was a report in the journal on Tuesday, I think it was, about the arm's length company being seriously in the red to about, well, a lot of millions. Can you make any comment on that?
I hope you'll understand that, first of all, leaked reports to the papers, I think, just don't believe everything you read in the press. And secondly, it is unfortunately was a leak, and I'm advised by my colleagues at County Hall, not my colleagues, that's wrong, by the legal officer at County Hall, that I should not comment on this. There's a process ongoing at the moment, and it would be wrong for me as county council to say something which might, frankly, damage the interests of the council and the company in the long term. So I regret, Alan, that I cannot comment at all. Thank you.
I'll accept that, Madam Mayor. I understand the situation. Leaks and the county council seem to be becoming a habit, if I am not right. Thinking about the, and I know you can't comment on that either.
No, I'll comment on that and say I quite agree.
Thank you, Alan. And Gordon. Martin Swinbank.
Yes, thank you. Gordon, I just wondering when we might see the planning application for the new car park, because we were told we were going to see it shortly.
Yes, that's a good question. I think what's happened is, can I say that must depend on the budget going through. The Cabinet has agreed, in principle, it's got to go through the budget. So can I say, as soon as the budget's clicked off, which it will be at the end of this month, I don't see any difficulty, but we can't put in an application until the budget has gone through. That's really the technical problem preventing it. As soon as possible after that, it'll go through. And the intention of the County Council is to start work in September. And I hope members will understand that it seems sensible not to start in midsummer when we'll be around with visitors. September is the planned start date. And it's 190 odd spaces, two entrances and exits, one down the Pottergate side and the other down the Ratton Row side. That's the plan. But yes, the budget's got to be signed off yet, Martin.
Thank you both. Any other questions or comments? No, thank you very much. So item 10B is reports from our advisory groups, and I think I usually start with Martin Swinbank.
Thank you, Linda. Okay, so the Sustainable Travel Working Group, we have been continuing on our work with the Greenway. Can everybody hear me? Because I think sometimes you can't hear me. We continue on our work with the Greenway. We are moving what is steadily forwards or slowly forwards, but we are progressing. Obviously, we're looking at a long-term project here. We need to get it right. So I'm pleased that we are moving forward there. We recently had a county officer come and talk to us about the lost paths of Northumberland, and basically how this is something that's been raised by specifically by the Ramblers Association, about there being a lot of paths which have disappeared off what we call the definitive map, which is the kind of map of footpaths. So all the footpaths that you would see on an ordinary survey map if you went and bought one today. So these are maps that were missed off that process when these were transcribed onto the old paths were transcribed onto the maps. And he explained to us the whole in-depth process, it has to be said, of restoring those to actually legal public rights way. It is possible to do it. It's a long, slow process, but we're looking to see whether there are some useful paths in the Alnwick area to see if we could get them reinstated on the definitive map. And finally, we're looking at the notion, it's been mentioned tonight, about what's going to happen with respect to travel, particularly in the town this summer. Being as it's quite likely we're going to have more people coming to Northumberland than in recent years, maybe except in last year, and see what effect that's going to have on travel in the town and what we can do to mitigate some of those issues, and that includes obviously people walking around as well. So we're having a look at that as well.
Thank you, Martin. Has anybody got any questions or comments to Martin? No, thank you very much. Martin Harrington, Retail and Town Centre.
Yes, thanks, Linda. Just a little, really an update as to that due to the lack of numbers at our last meeting of key people who were involved with certain projects that we're dealing with, we couldn't really make any grand decisions or make any great movement forward. But just for everybody's benefit, we're looking forward to COVID sort of getting brushed away and getting back to some kind of normality for the town centre, and the shops reopening and looking to make kind of phase back into normality if we can. We're still looking at the link up between Alnwick Gardens and then the town centre, based really around the area around the back of the playhouse in Greenway Lane. But again, couldn't do much with that because the key people at the last meeting were unavailable. And last but not least was the Town Trail app is looking to be produced and ready for the end of the month. So we look forward to that, which will be another tool which will kind of enhance the attraction to come in Alnwick and spend people's money. So like everybody else, we're kind of waiting on our hands as to see how things progress, and hopefully we do get a return to some kind of normality by spring.
Thank you, Martin. Has anyone got any comments or questions for Martin? Yes, Martin Swinbank.
Just a quick one for information for Martin Harrington. When the Lily Dory project was signed off through planning 2-3 years ago now, one of the conditions that should be on there is signage from inside the Alnwick Garden to the town centre. Now, last time I was in there was a little while ago, but there wasn't any signage there at all. So you may just, when you're speaking to Mark Brassel, obviously, you may just want to remind him that one of the conditions on Lily Dory is to provide good signage so people can find their way out of the garden castle complex into the town centre.
Yes, Martin, I think that's kind of been looked at from a distance, and I think people from the town council have actually been into the gardens and looked at it in a way what you're describing. But I think without meeting up with people and showing people and discussing people in person, it's a real hard one to discover and look at. But if nothing else, that's a starting point to encourage people into the town from the gardens. I personally haven't been in daylight into the gardens for many years for one reason or another, but they're naturally when things open up again, I think things could happen quickly on that basis to try and encourage everything that we're trying to achieve in getting people to the whole of Alnwick, be it Allen Valley Railway, their little tie-up, we're trying to link up with them. You bang on with the transport thing, is to try and keep the numbers out of town, and if we can get a little bit of a link up, even if it's using a car park somewhere that's not used so much during the day, and a link up with an Allen Valley Railway vintage vehicle of some kind and a bus into the town, regular, all positive stuff. But naturally, we're all reliant on this COVID situation disappearing and trying to get back to some normality.
If I can just add to that, Martin, Mark Brassel's behind all of this. I think he even might have brought it to the town centre group up before Christmas when we were doing the Christmas lights. So he's behind making that link. So I don't think it would be a difficult one to tackle. Yes, Lisa?
Can I just ask the question? I've had ITV News on the phone today, and they're under the impression that the government has come out today and advised people not to staycation in the UK, and they're actually coming to Alnwick to interview shopkeepers and businesses that are reliant on the tourist trade. Has anybody else heard or got that vibe from the press?
I heard a bit of a retraction at lunchtime after Grant Shapps said don't plan any holidays, but I haven't heard anything since. I don't know if anybody else has. Yes, Martin Harrington.
Well, all due respect for everybody in this meeting tonight, if things get a little bit better, it's going to be a very strong wind that will stop people from going out and trying to visit places, because everybody are like caged animals at this time. You know, the weather gets nicer and the weather's nice and there's places to go. You'll not stop people from going out. You cannot stop them now. You just need to go to places like a Saturday morning in Alnwick. You kind of get parked on the marketplace cobbles. You can the Marks and Spencers and Turnbull's Butchery, Northumbrian Produce. It's heaving on a Saturday morning. So with all due respect, people will come no matter what, unless they put a clamp down on the accommodation. But bearing in mind at Christmas time, people still came to Northumberland with all the COVID regulations. So my view is you're going to take a strong person and a strong lot of regulation to stop people from coming.
Thank you. Yes, Gordon.
Yes, very much linked to the Town Centre Working Group, and nobody could know this, but I asked the question, where are we with the proposals that were made that the Town Council should actually be taking charge of the events programme in the marketplace? I just want to assure everyone and you, Martin, that that work hasn't stopped, hasn't slipped. It's with the legal officers. The legal officers are a bit of pressure in other respects at the moment, but it has not been forgotten, and I was assured by Lynn Ryan that it's making progress to the legal officers. There just has to be a proper legal scheme drawn up. The first part, and also so that you know and to reassure members that Richard Mackenzie, the other highways officers, is still working on his pedestrianised scheme, that is to semi-pedestrianise the marketplace and come back with proposals for that, to enable the cafe culture to expand. That's what we're trying to achieve in the marketplace. That first of all depends on it not being a highway, or at least being a pedestrianised highway, and that's what we're working on.
Thank you, Gordon. Thank you, Martin. Keep up the good work. Who else have I got? Jeff, would you like to do environment next?
I certainly would. Thank you, Chair. Okay, the Environment Advisory Group was specifically asked to look at the caps in the neighbourhood plan relating to environment. There are actually 14 caps, environment caps. We were asked to look at 11, which we did so in detail. Of the 11 we discussed, we are recommending that 7 of them be kept. 4 of them we think could be merged because they're basically covering the same things. And we're also recommending that we have 1 additional cap when we come to upgrade the neighbourhood plan, and that would be to cover climate change. We don't have a specific cap that covers climate change, and we think it sits in the environment group quite well. So that would be our recommendation. The other part of the environment group we looked at was the Thomas Percy site. We're calling it the Thomas Percy site because it includes the wood and the field to the west of the wood. And a very good discussion with Northumberland County Council about the site. As you're all aware by now, it's in a bit of a state. The wall is falling down in several places. There are quite a few desire lines through the wall. 1 or 2 of them are quite dangerous. The gate at the east corner requires replacing the path that used to be a circular path in the wood. That's disappeared now. There's a straight path through there. The wood itself is in a pretty bad state with lots of weeds, and the field, well, it's not in a very good state either. So we did have a discussion, or I did have a discussion with County Council. Councillor Swinback was there with me, and Councillor Edge, I believe, was. We had a good chat with County Council, and what came out of that discussion was the County Council would be minded, if we so wished, to transfer either by lease or by ownership that site from the County Council's ownership to the Town Council's. I was hoping to get a decision on that tonight. I accept that that probably won't happen. But what I would like this evening, if councillors agree, is to send in an expression of interest form to Northumberland County Council. That doesn't commit us to anything. All we're basically saying, it's a very simple form. It's 3 A4 pages. Basically, what is the site? What do we hope to do with it? What kind of budget would we use to maintain it? So it's just an expression of interest, but I think that would move it along a little way and be able for County Council to respond and come back to the Town Council. So that's where we are with the Thomas Percy site. I've also had quite a few residents contacting me about the site and asking what we intend to do with it. I've reassured them that nothing is going to happen to it until we've fully discussed it, we've decided what we want to do, we'll then consult fully with residents on their views before we do anything. But it has the potential for the town council to be an absolute fantastic site. There's potential for outdoor classrooms, for improving the wood and improving the field, perhaps with some tree and shrub planting and improving that whole area. Fantastic potential site. And I think we should really start getting interested in it. And as I say, with councillors' permission, I'd like to, or the town council, I would like to suggest the town council submit an expression of interest form to the county council.
Okay, have we got any questions for Jeff? No. Have we got a seconder for Jeff's proposal that we put in an expression of interest? Yes, Peter Broom, I think, had his hand up first. So that's a yes, Jeff, to go ahead with the expression of interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll briefly tell you about the Jubilee. Do you want me to do that now?
Yeah, yes, I think, no, any other business, I think Pete said it should come under.
All right, okay. Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you. Julia, and thank you for all your work on it. Sorry, I thanked everybody else. I haven't thanked you. Julia, environment, I'm going to get it right this time. Environment, employment and housing. No?
Economy.
Economy.
Yes, nearly.
Economy, and that's because I've just been talking about environment. Sorry, go on.
So, very briefly, it's still a matter of trying to build up a membership that it complements the membership of the other advisory groups. And it's good to hear from Linda about the Arkinova development, and that kind of business plus MSP and others would be really good additions, we think, to this advisory group, especially as they're trying to link to employment and STEM and into the school. And MSP is still discussing a project called Tech Up, so that complements the chemical work that Arkinova is involved with. So and other businesses are that are involved in the knowledge, like other tech design and so on, would be adding something to the mix in the partnership. So the proposal is to invite some business support agencies like MBSL Business Northumberland, some organisations that have got a good feel for what the population of Alnwick is all about in terms of poverty, unemployment and housing. So that might be the CAB, the Bridge Project, which is an employability project. And once that grouping is up and running, I think we're Tim and I are working towards a launch of that group, which we hope can not meet, maybe not quite as often as the town centre group, but relatively regularly to try and get something to happen. So in the meantime, the work that's been going on the youth homelessness research through Gallery Youth Project is completed, and I think you've all had a chance to see the report of that. There's still some sort of something hanging over the how positive the county is in terms of proactively supporting a bid for further funding, but that's still under discussion within our little working group. The other part of of what that report has recommended, one major part is a refresh of the housing needs assessment, which is my next task to try and get on with, seeing how we can make that happen, with an emphasis on affordability, whether that's for rent or for sale, and continued access to affordable housing, and looking at the population's housing need to see whether the developments that have happened since the last housing need assessment have continued to address what local housing need is. So that's the agenda so far.
Thank you. Any questions for Julia? Any comments? Yes, Martin Harrington.
Just to thank Julia for sterling work up to now, because it is a bit of a thorny it's a great area to me, and it's a very technical area. So just a bit of a thank you, because it is a bit of a task taking something on from fresh and trying to put a bit of meat on the bones. So just well done, Julia.
Yeah, I agree. I'm very impressed with how much Julia has done in such a short time. Even if there's nothing actually, you know, it's all, the bones are all there. It's just to get the group together and go, because the ideas and everything has been very good.
Thanks.
So I would have thanked you, but I've said a bit more than I would have just thanking you. Okay, and that's it, isn't it? And we've come to the heritage group later on the agenda. So our next agenda item is
number 11, Linda.
Yeah, I know. I was just, yeah. I have got two, I've got two agendas here. That's how I said. That's how I went wrong. My report was on twice, on 7 and 11, and I'm just checking them.
Chair.
So, yes, Chair.
I'd like to propose that item 11 be moved into private at the end of the meeting.
Can I have a seconder for that proposal? Sue Allcraft. Yes, thank you, Jeff. Right, I've turned over the page and I'm on the right numbers now, I think.
You probably better have a vote on that, there, just to be fair.
Oh, yeah, should do. You're right. All those in favour? Anyone against? Any abstainers? 2 abstain. Thank you for that.
In Durham, I abstain. I do beg your pardon.
3 to abstain. Item 12 is the neighbourhood, but it was carried because we still got more voted for it to go in private. Item 12 is the neighbourhood plan refresh. At the previous meeting of the Highways and Planning Committee on the 21st of January, it was resolved to recommend to Council that process to refresh the neighbourhood plan should commence. Councillor Winbank will brief councillors on the rationale for doing so. Over to you, Martin.
Thank you, Linda. Everybody remember this?
Yeah.
Alnwick and Denwick neighbourhood plan. Bill Grisdale remembers it particularly well, and I think Alan remembers it rather well as well.
And so do I, Martin.
Everybody does. Everybody who's involved in that process. Started in 2011, made 2017, which is it was July 2017, which is 4.5 years ago. Obviously, lots and lots of things that we talk about within the council hark back to the neighbourhood plan, in particular, well, to its policies, but in particular also to its community action proposals, of which there are a large number. I don't know how many there are actually, probably 100 or so at least, I think. So for the last, well, even since before the plan was actually made and went to referendum, it's been kind of the guiding policy of the direction of the town council in many ways. But the thing about neighbourhood plans is that they age like everything else and everyone else, and the plan is in its kind of prime for only the first 2 or 3 years of its existence from when it's made, and after that it starts to lose its kind of sharpness, if you like, both in planning terms, but also in terms of what else is in there in terms of community action proposals, because what happens is the world moves on and the plan doesn't. So what we're looking to do, and what we said we would do in previous discussions, was when the local plan, which is the county council's plan, which has been I think at least 10 years in its gestation, when it is finally made, if that's the word, which we understand in terms of timetable is going to be in the summer of this year. But when that happens, that we ought to be in a position where we can review our plan to make sure that A, everything aligns, and B, that anything that's happened that we need in our neighbourhood plan since that date can be brought in there. So things like, for instance, there's an annex settlement boundary which was brought in with the local plan, which doesn't correlate in our neighbourhood plan because there isn't one there. And we know that numbers of things have changed since the neighbourhood plan was drawn together, since that consultation was done, and we've just gone through the most strangest year any of us know in our lifetimes. And what we do know about what's going to happen going forward is we're not going to go back to where we were in March of last year. Whatever happens going forward, we're in a different world. So our feeling is, and the recommendation from the planning committee is that we look to do a refresh of the neighbourhood plan. That won't be complete starting from scratch, but the actual scope of that is still to be determined. What we're looking for tonight essentially is the nod to go ahead and start looking at the process, and to be aiming it for when the local plan comes into force, probably in the middle of this year. But of course that could slip, and we may need to revise our timetable on that basis.
Okay, any questions for Martin? Yes, Jeff.
Just to say that I support Martin's proposal. I think the plan, it's 4 years old. It will need upgrading soon, and makes sense to do it after the county council plan. So I would support Martin's proposal.
All those in favour? Oh, Sue's got a question or comment.
Just a comment, yeah. Sooner rather than later, I think. Knowing what happened last time to the local plan, the county's local plan, it got pulled at the last minute by the incoming Conservative administration, and then we've had another 5 years of making that one. If things change in May, you might well have the same thing happening, in which case you won't have a local plan, maybe for another 5 years. So I think we ought to crack on and start ours. We informed last time. A lot of what happened in this area informed the local plan that is being made now for this area. And that was made from the Alnwick neighbourhood plan because it was out before the local plan. So I think we should just get on with it.
Thank you, Sue. Any other comments, Gordon?
Yes, it is just a refresh, of course. We're not talking about starting from scratch and making a new plan. We're talking a refresh. And I think that's perfectly fine. I don't see why we can't proceed with that whenever. It must be as inclusive as the last neighbourhood plan, mine, which I thought had a very good committee. It had a number of bodies represented on it, and that must continue. And I think the refresh should include them. Thank you.
I think we need to be careful what we're saying, because who was it that spoke to us, Martin, about the significant changes in just a refresh? Was it?
It was David English from the county council and neighbourhood planning team. Yeah. Yes. Whether we need the scope and the depth of the refresh that we need is something which is yet to be decided, and will need to be decided through a sensible process, some kind of committee, I guess. But what we're saying at the moment is that we just need to be moving forward with the actual process of moving into that process, if you like. The actual scope, and we need to do some work and actually looking at what the plan does, what the policies say, and where the deficit is and where things may need to be changed, and then we can decide on what depth of process we need to go through, and then we can think about things like budget and all the rest of it. But at the moment, it's the principle that we're going to move around.
Thank you, Martin. Yes, Bill.
Sorry, just from a technical point of view, could the new refreshed plan be transferred to digital and the internet as a website or whatever? The last one we did was aimed at printing something, but that should be secondary, I think, as a backup. I think that we're all going meetings. It would be nice to have it all on a website or a server somewhere where we could draw up all these different things within meetings, etc., etc. It'd be much more useful that way. So as a starter, could we get it all transferred to possibly the new website, if it's possible, or a website which is linked to the new council website? That would be good. Okay.
Thank you, Gail. Martin Harrington.
Yes, thanks. Just for Martin to say, Martin, is there anything you can say tonight to say, oh, look, we're going to put a date in the sand here and let's have a meeting with somebody to create something, because we're debating it and we're chatting about it and it's like another month later. And so I just wonder, because we have agreed to sort of get that guy, I'm sorry, I can't remember his name, who helped us the last time, to try and get the thing actually a date in the diary to move on it, rather than just kind of discussing, and take Sue's point on view on board as well, please.
That's fine, Martin. I've no problem with that. Basically, it has to come to full council. We obviously discussed it at the planning committee and we agreed it has to come to full council to be agreed. That's why we're processing it now. Yes, I mean, the next step that I see will be a meeting with Peter Biggers, hopefully in the next month, and we'll move forward from there. Yeah.
Recommendation is that we approve the Alnwick and Denwick neighbourhood plan refresh. So I assume, Martin, you're proposing that, and looks like Jeff seconded it. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. Item 13 is the COVID-19 Memorial Garden, which has been proposed, and I'm not sure who's leading on this. Peter, is that you?
Gordon's going to start off with this one.
Thank you. I'll kick it off. And first of all, I'll give credit to the person who produced the idea, Bill Grisdale. We had a discussion and Bill came up with this suggestion that we actually have a COVID memorial garden in Alnwick. And after a brief think about where, the obvious place came up for this. And it was the, if you can put your minds along Greenbat, to the small garden area between the old schoolhouse next to the old former library and the veterinary practice, which used to be the old church hall. There's a small garden with some steps, which Alnwick and Bloom have faithfully looked after for many years, and did have original plans, possibly with some sort of memorial in it, which didn't come to anything, but they've maintained it. Now, I put the proposal to Northumberland Estates, who own the land. We thought it might be the church, but it's not. When it was reconsecrated a Catholic church, the land didn't go with it. This piece of land didn't, and it still belongs to Northumberland Estates. But the Duke and Duchess personally felt it was a very good idea and have agreed that it should be donated for this purpose and some money to go with it. So what we're thinking about is how we proceed with this, and I don't think too many decisions can be made tonight, but in principle, those that I've spoken to have thought this was a really good idea, that we should have a COVID memorial garden in Alnwick. The idea, some kind of sculpture, something, possibly a competition, or all kinds of issues that we'd have to consider. And also whether or not we put names in, though I think that could be really difficult, for who knows how long COVID's going to have victims. But having a memorial garden could be a good idea. And I know that Janet, who is the secretary of the Alnwick and Bloom committee, have accepted this rather enthusiastically. So we've so far got the right levels of support, I think, where it matters. I think it's now a matter for the town council to consider how it might proceed with this idea. But first of all, to consider whether they think it is a good idea. And obviously I do, and Bill does, but others may want to express a view. That's all I've got so far. Peter, you might want to come in.
Gordon, can I just say I had an email from the Secretary for Churches Together. Apparently they have conducted litter picks there regularly. I think she said it was originally organised by David Archer.
Mm-hmm.
Continued to do it. So just to keep them in the loop, that's all. I've told them where things were and what was happening.
Yes, very important.
They're quite relaxed about it all. In fact, they said, so does that mean that we won't have to do that anymore? And I said, well, we haven't got that far yet.
So that's a step down the line. Thank you. I think that's entirely appropriate. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Has anybody got any comments or questions on
yes,
that?
Please.
Yes,
please.
John Humphrey.
Yeah, just to mention that we are actually in the process of developing a garden of remembrance at the cemetery, and we had agreed that we'd probably put in 1 or 2 benches dedicated to key workers. So, you know, just to let people know that that would go ahead, I'm sure, and maybe that would be sufficient for that aspect of the COVID people. Okay, thank you very much.
Martin Harrington.
Yeah, thanks. I think it's a great idea for what it is, but this COVID-19 name just kind of runs shivers down my spine. I think some people, when we get to the end of it, will think, thank goodness for that, rather than to be remembered by it. I don't know what the way forward is. I can see the good in it, but the name of it just doesn't ring in my book. I'm sorry. The idea is great, where we can go and sit and reminisce or do whatever, but the name of it just doesn't sort of take my fancy. Sorry.
Okay, Martin Swinbank had his hand up, Jeff has had his hand up, and then Bill. So I'll come round in order.
Well, just to say that that the garden obviously maintained at the minute by the Bloom people, I think, and it's a lovely space, and it's surprisingly quiet in that space off Greenback there. I think it is a good place for this kind of thing for people to go and sit in quiet contemplation. Yeah, whether the naming's right, I'm not entirely sure, but yes, in terms of support, yes, definitely.
Thank you, Martin. Jeff?
It's just a bit of information about the garden, Chair. Gordon will probably remember this. Actually, I planted the roses along by the wall as ground cover. The garden does have a lockable gate on it. As you go up the steps, the gate is lockable. And the seats in there were actually provided by Northumberland Estates a few years ago. They actually made them. Just some info.
Bill?
Just to say, the COVID, just to answer Martin, it's not got a name yet. I mean, it's just what it is there to remember. I would ask councillors to remember that all the war memorials in the country didn't start going up until about 5 or 6 years after the First World War, because in the same way people want to forget it, but eventually, you know, they came around to commemorating them, you know. So that didn't happen immediately, but it was sufficiently of a psychological shock that people did want to remember it. And that, you know, so we'll have to have a group together and work everything out. So just a place of, and it's the good thing about the location is it's central. Obviously the steps will have to be changed. When you look at the information that's just come out today about the proportion of disabled people who have suffered from COVID, it's the entrance is going to have to be obviously made easier for disabled access. But it just is right in the middle of town and easily accessible for everybody in lots of ways. Okay.
You, Bill. Alan.
Thank you, Mayor. I take the point that Martin makes, but I don't think it prevents us from looking at the project. And part of that review and analysis will be taking comments such as Martin's and others that have, so we can develop a sensitivity to all the things that might offend and then avoid them, but at the end up with something that I think a lot of people will find helpful should their loved ones have succumbed to this pandemic. And let's be fair, when is this going to end? It's not going to end this year or next year, in my view. So I would support those people that we go ahead with the study of setting one up and have a process whereby comments like Martin's and anybody else's will be considered in the final plan.
Are there any other comments? We're asked to approve the creation of the COVID-19 Memorial Garden. So I'm assuming Gordon's proposing that.
If I may, thank you. And my only comment is, yes, this is not to decide any detail here, but in principle, are we supportive? And it sounds as though we are. Thank you.
Yeah, and Peter Broom seconded. All those in favour? Anyone against? Anybody abstaining? No, thank you very much. Okay, best item on the agenda next. Dog fouling. I think Julia's going to lead on this. Thank you, Julia.
Thanks. I think this well, it comes up perennially, doesn't it? So it's come up again. And in the summer, well, earlier than the summer, in the spring, when I was attempting must be yourself COVID version of a local scheme, I looked a bit into what was on offer locally and elsewhere, and I think some of you have seen a summary of what I looked into at the time. And thank you to Gordon. I think it's Gordon has produced this update from the county about the current situation. So just trying to summarise that down to its bare bones. The county, as many other local authorities, have got a carrot and a stick approach, and the carrot has been incredibly successful. Apparently, the Green Dog Walkers scheme, which has won awards and is a sort of engagement, encouragement version of how to tackle dog fouling by getting volunteers to wear an obvious badge and to give out free bags and so on. So that's in summary the Green Dog Walkers. The other side of it is more dependent on officers who are patrolling and giving out, making sure that people are found out and that's followed through. And the figures are on that paper that in the north of Northumberland, the figures are relatively low on all fronts. The other thing that was discussed briefly when this came up I think it was in the town centre group, was the idea of the dispensers, because in the spring, that's what I and others had tried to do, to in effect do a cheap version of providing dog poo bags there and then. There had been a trial in Northumberland. I think it's certainly in Newbiggin and also in Prudhoe, I think, or Hexham, with quite substantial dispensers, a bit more so than the ones that we just had them tied on with plastic. And I was hoping that we might be able to find out more about what happened to those trials and whether that approach, which is based part on the carrot, part on the stick, I suppose. There used to be a lot of the green recyclable bags used to be available from the drop-in from the community hub in Greenwell Lane, and I'm not sure that they still are, but the fact that these things should be recyclable is really important as well. If we were looking at this locally, then that's the conversation that maybe we need to set ourselves the task of coming to something that's an agreement around what we're trying to do. There's probably a lot more we could do to promote the Green Dog Walker scheme, but I imagine that lends itself very much to people who are very responsible dog owners anyway. So maybe we can be asking questions about how much officer time we can expect in our area to make sure that dog fouling is kept under control. And also maybe we would like to consider this idea of something a bit more substantial that's there for people to use and to link it somehow to the Green Dog Walker scheme, which is volunteer based, where people are looking out to see whether things like those dispensers are being maintained properly. There's obviously the same issue with these as there has been with COVID dispensers in play areas, that they're a bit at risk of being set fire to or whatever, and certainly stuff being stolen from them. But stealing dog poo bags is probably not such a bad thing if they get used. So that's my view.
Thank you. Any comments, Juliet? Yes, Martin.
Hello. Must get ready for it, because I've always got a valid point on this subject. Well, being a dog owner myself, it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating when you can stand and watch somebody from a distance who employs somebody to walk their dogs, to let them knowingly do their poop and just walk away. And if it was half a mile away, I could stand and watch, because I know the person that does this every time. So unless we get it by the scruff of the neck, no pun intended, but to work on this in a manner that is positive, rather than just going around and around and around the table, which sometimes it does. Since I've been a town councillor, There's never been anything major done. I know there's officers that's supposed to look after the job in the way it's supposed to be done, but that doesn't, the figures don't stack up because people in Alnwick are polite. They don't like to complain. But I could take you this afternoon, I could take any councillor by the hand and show them a patch with at least 40 dog poos lying in a row. Now, if you think that's acceptable, I'll shut my mouth and leave it at that. But I don't think that's acceptable because it's the same person at the same time doing the same job, and that's in Alnwick. I can take you to different places no matter in our area. But the point I'm trying to make here is we've got an opportunity to get it by the scruff of the neck and put it right. Gordon and the county council have got a great scheme. We just need to promote it and get it out there. And I've done a little bit with the town council to promote little dispensers, which are not a lot of money, dishing out the poo bags that are biodegradable as an alternative in areas that I've identified. And I walk my dogs rather than get in the car at this period of time because you're not allowed to travel. And if people cannot go out there and they can't say what I'm saying, they need to get the Specsavers, or I'm just making it up.
Thank you, Martin. I'm just sitting thinking where this sits really. Does it sit with the environmental group? Yes, Peter?
I think it's a reckoning. I mean, it's issue, Linda. The only reason that I brought it straight here was to highlight it because I think the perception is that it's getting worse because of COVID. Yeah. So I would suggest that we push it back down to reckoning amenities, and they could probably do a good job with this.
Peter, I'll come back to you. Gordon had his hand up.
Thank you. And thank you, Julia, for that, because it does, it's certainly timely. And the County Council has a scheme which has been unexpectedly successful. That's the kindest thing I can say about it. But you're quite right. It's the responsible dog owners that tend to sign up. Just as like the Institute of Advanced Motorists gets the good drivers to sign up, not the bad ones. So it does make a lot of difference. But we do need to do more. Now, the civilian enforcement officers, could I just remind you all, have the power to issue fines. We don't publish it because you can't name and shame, I'm afraid, if it's an on-the-spot one. You just can't do it. But we have taken people to court, and we have got evidence, I think it's been passed around you all, of what we can do. But are we doing enough as a town council to promote this? Probably not. Could we do more? Yes, I think we could. And I think it should go to that committee because I think COVID has brought out far more dog walkers, far more people working from home, taking their dog for a walk. And also, you know, dogs themselves, you try buying one, they're very hard to get hold of, very expensive, they're even being stolen. So it's a growing issue. We should actually, frankly, bring it up the agenda to the top, because if you ask anyone in the town what really drives them mad in Alnwick, it's dog mess and litter. And I think we've got a chance here to do something about it. Let's do it. And the county will certainly cooperate as far as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon. Peter Broom.
Yes, we brought this up under any other business. We had a little discussion with it with Julia, and that's why it's been brought to this main council tonight. But we will return it back to Reckoning Amenities and make it a full agenda item. I think Peter will just make a comment on that.
Thank you. Yes, Peter.
Yeah, just listening to Gordon there, one thing that strikes me is that it would be useful for the Reckoning Amenities Committee to have some sort of comms with the civil enforcement officers. You know, using the local knowledge that the Recreation and Amenities Committee have, perhaps to target the civil enforcement officers.
That could be arranged.
So we have a recommendation to approve the promotion of the scheme by the Town Council proposed by Julia. Have we got a seconder? Peter, all those in favour? Any against? Any abstention? That's carried. Thank you very much. Agenda item 15 is communications, and this is Peter Hately.
Yeah, hopefully a quick one here. For some time now, we've been talking about communicating our story a little bit better, and hopefully part of that will be delivered with the new website. I've got a meeting tomorrow. We're not far off getting that ready to go live, but that's only one part of it. And there is a potential opportunity to work with a revamped crier, which will be potentially targeting only Alnwick. And what I'm recommending is that the communications group sort of gets back together. Firstly, I think that's a good time for that meeting to happen, but also that it looks to give a commitment to the crier to do some advertising. They're initially talking about every 2 months. So I think that would be something. It would fill that communications gap quite well alongside the website.
So, any comments to Peter on that? So, can I have a proposal that we approve the expenditure to come from the communications budget? Sue Allcroft, seconded by Peter Broom. All those in favour? Anybody against? Any abstentions? Okay. Oh, yeah, one. Thank you.
I have to declare an interest, obviously.
Okay, thank you. Item 16 is advisory group chairman, appointments and resignations. Peter Haitley.
Yeah, it's been a busy week for the advisory groups. John and Jeff have, due to other commitments, have resigned from their roles on the advisory, as chairs of the advisory committees. So we're looking for a new chair for the environment advisory group and for the heritage group. And I believe we have some interested councillors.
Jeff.
Yeah, sorry, Peter. Could I quickly say, Chair, the reason why I resigned? It's nothing sinister, I assure you. It's just that, as you know, I'm leading this Jubilee group at the moment. We've got 3 pages of activities and actions just out of the one meeting, and I can only see it getting busier and busier as the spring and summer come in. I'm very keen on the environment group. I think it's a very important group, but I'm not going to be able to give it my 100% attention that I would wish. I still want to stay as a member of that group. I think the chair will rest better with someone else. And I do have a proposal if you want to hear that.
Yes.
And I'd like to propose Councillor Patience as chair of that group.
Thank you, Jeff. Has anybody got, have I got a seconder for that? Peter Broom, all those in favour?
I have to.
Anybody against? And any abstentions? No, thank you. Thank you, Sue, for agreeing to take that on. Thank you very much.
Can I just say thanks to Jeff as well for chairing that over the past year or so, and hope I can do as good a job. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. So I was just coming back to say the same thing. So take it as said from me as well. Thank you, Jeff, for your work on that group. And the other one, I think John's waving his hand there.
Yeah, I just say the reason that I've resigned is very similar. I've really got quite a lot of outside commitments as well as what I do within the council now, and I just can't give it my full and fair attention. And again, rather like Jeff, I'm quite happy to remain on or stay on any advisory group if I can be of help. But as far as chairing it's concerned, then now I'll have to hand that on to somebody else who has more aptitude as much as anything else.
Well, thank you very much, John. Thank you for all you've done. Have we got a proposal for, or have we got anybody in mind? Have we got a proposal for somebody to take on the heritage?
I do have a proposal, Madam. May I have a proposal, Councillor Grisdale?
Okay, have we got a second? Yes, seconded. All those in favour? Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody against? And then
that's assuming he wants to.
Well, yes, I've been on the council a number of years, so I've had a lot of time dealing with old relics. So I've in that time,
I'll take back my nomination.
I have experience there. No, it's because I'm with Trustee Bailiffgate and all the other stuff. It just fits in quite well. It's something I'm interested in. Peter reads down the road, so he can walk his dog, and we have meetings about all this civic society. Who I must say are doing a fantastic job in Alnwick. I don't know if you're following their about the lost pubs of Alnwick and stuff like that. And the town map. There's some fantastic projects. Alnwick, as you know, is a very old town, and it's very exciting times in terms of heritage coming up.
Just to let you know, Bill, I had an email exchange with Peter Reid about who might be involved in that group, so I can pass those on to you. You probably know who they all are anyway, but I'll pass them on to you.
Yeah, Bye.
Thank you. Okay. Item 17, receive the minutes of, oh right, the easy one. To receive the minutes of the committees, we'll take Planning, Highways and Transport first. Martin.
To receive the minutes of the Planning, Highways and Transport Committee of the 21st of January 2021.
Can I have a seconder for those proposals? Jeff Watson, all those in favour that we receive them? Yeah, thank you. Anybody against? Any abstentions? Thank you. And the other committee that's met this month is Wrecking Amenities on the 28th of January.
Can I propose that we accept the minutes of the Recreation Amenities held on 28th of January 2021?
Is that you seconding, Linda? Seconded by Linda. All those in favour? Anybody against? Any abstentions? Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Our next item is financial matters and payments.
Yeah, so this is me. 4 additional payments to those that are on the agenda. Tim Curtin, £138. Electrolast Northern Limited, £54. James N. McLean, £163.14, and WR80, £89.99, which takes the new total for approval to £13,960.39, with direct debits of £565.40.
Thank you. Can I have a proposal that we authorise the above payments and to note the direct debits payments? Sue Allcroft. I'm assuming that you are not commenting, Sue. You're proposing them.
Proposing, yes.
Yeah, thank you. And a seconder? Martin Harrington. All those in favour? Anybody against? Any abstentions? No.
Can I just ask a question, Linda? Reciting of planter, what was that?
Janet will give you the detail, but it was a bill to the county council, I think, wasn't it, Janet?
Yeah, it's built to county. A car knocked the planter, one of the ones on the cobbles. It literally was in the middle of the road, and one of Bill's lads came in one day, so they quickly hired a forklift and got it back on its pedestal. So it's just one of those things we have to pay for if we want it done quickly.
Those will be the ones that are meant to have bollards to protect them.
They're the ones, yeah. There was one of those actually.
Thought so.
Yeah.
Yes, Jeff. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Sorry, I don't usually do that. Not. I think I've asked this one before. As we have CCTV all over the town, and it's costing us money to have this sorted, is there no way we can identify the car and claim off their insurance?
Yes, Janet.
Police say they don't have time to do that for us.
There's something to consider when we have our discussion.
It's a civil matter, not a criminal matter. That's the problem.
Yeah, true. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Any other urgent business? Yes, Peter?
I'm going completely against the policy I set out in Agenda Item 8 here, but I've actually forgotten that we had a question from the public. So what I propose to do is, Martin Harrington, please don't laugh at me, I've had a bad day. What I think it will probably do is it could warrant quite a long discussion. So given the time, I think what I'll do is I'll email everybody out with it. And if you've got any comments, please come back to me, ideally sometime tomorrow.
Okay. I did ask if there was any, and it was complete silence. Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. So meeting ended at 8:18. Thank you very much. And now we're now going to private session.
I thought I was going to do my Jubilee.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff. Sorry, it didn't close at 8:08.
I'm desperate to get this Jubilee in. It'll be very quick, Chair, I promise. We had an absolutely excellent meeting. I think Tim will agree, the other day with the Jubilee group. We invited quite a lot of attendees, and I promised to keep probably twice as many more in the loop as a result of the decisions and discussions we had at the meeting. We'd already had a list of excellent ideas for activities. We've probably got as many more out of that meeting, things you never even think about. Too many to go into now, but I have sent the notes around to everybody. I think everyone got a copy. The only one I just struggled with, Julia, was yours. Your email bounced back, so I will try and get it to you tomorrow. But you can see from the notes what a great meeting we had. Everyone we've spoken to so far is really enthusiastic about the idea of a Jubilee parade that Linda is leading on, and lots more activities. The whole idea really, because it's a 4-day holiday, is to have something happening in the town all of those 4 days. So there's something going on all of the time. And we've got some, as I say, some fantastic ideas. But if you do have any ideas or you do have any queries, you've got the notes, please email me, and I'll try and keep everyone in the loop as we're going along. We're going to arrange another meeting in about 5 or 6 weeks' time, once we've managed to contact some more people and get some actions taken care of.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you for taking that forward. It was a good meeting. I was there as well. So thank you. So meeting closed at